Imagine this. You just gave birth. Your baby is less than 10 minutes old. The umbilical cord literally just got cut. You're holding your newborn for the first time, and you're completely vulnerable, exhausted, and overwhelmed with love and joy. Then suddenly, a woman walks into your hospital room, a woman with authority, a woman you know from your neighborhood, a woman who believes she has the power to take your child away. And before you can even process what's happening, she reaches down and picks your newborn out of your arms, like she is picking up a piece of paperwork. She looks you dead in the eye and tells you your baby is a Category 2 violation. She tells you your newborn daughter is unregistered and that she is taking her until the HOA board approves her. Your baby, minutes old, taken from your arms by someone wielding absolute power over your neighborhood. I want you to imagine that terror, that helplessness, that moment when you realize no one can help you, not the nurses, not the doctors, not anyone. But here's what you need to know. My husband wasn't just any husband. He was a Navy SEAL who had designed the very security system this woman used to break into that hospital. And when he found out what she'd done, he didn't just fight back. He dismantled her entire empire. What happened next will shock you. Before we get into this story, I need to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments below. And if you believe in justice, if you believe in protecting your family at any cost, then subscribe right now and turn on notifications, because this is a true story about power, corruption, and one man who proved that some things are worth destroying everything for. I was lying in that hospital bed, completely exhausted. I'd been in labor for 14 hours straight. Every single part of my body hurt, my legs felt numb, my back was screaming in pain, and I was emotionally drained from the whole experience. But then they placed my daughter in my arms, and suddenly, none of that mattered anymore. She was here, she was finally here, and she was safe. She was less than 10 minutes old. I was looking down at her tiny face, her eyes still closed, her little fingers curled up against my chest. The room was quiet and dimly lit, just the soft beeping of the monitors and her tiny breathing. It was the most perfect moment of my entire life. But then the door opened. I thought it was another nurse coming to check on us. A pediatrician may come to do her first checkup. I wasn't expecting anything unusual, but when the door opened, I saw her. Karen Taryn, the HOA president from our neighborhood. She was wearing that bone-colored blazer she always wore to board meetings. Her hair was pulled back so tight it looked painful, and there it was, that red lanyard hanging around her neck. The same kind my husband used to wear when he worked in hospital security consulting. She walked straight to my hospital bed like she owned the place, like this was her office instead of my private medical room. "Congratulations, Mrs. Velrick," she said. Her voice was calm, professional, like she was reading from a script she'd memorized. "I'm here to address a compliance matter." I just stared at her. My baby was less than 10 minutes old. The umbilical cord had literally just been cut. I hadn't even called my mother yet to tell her the good news. "What are you doing here?" I whispered. My throat was raw and dry from screaming during the contractions. Karen pulled out a folder, a thick folder with the Wickerdale Edge HOA logo printed right on the front. "Your daughter isn't registered on the Wickerdale Edge occupancy ledger," she said, like she was explaining the most normal thing in the world. She opened the folder and pulled out a sheet of paper that makes her a Category 2 violation under our residential compliance code. I couldn't process what she was saying. Category 2 violation. My baby, my newborn baby. "I'm sorry, what?" I managed to say. My voice cracked. I felt tears starting to form. Karen adjusted her glasses and held up the paper so I could see it. HOA Clause 12A, she read. "All permanent biological additions must be approved by the board before residential integration into any household unit." My hand started shaking so badly that I could barely hold it steady. "You can't be serious." "I'm very serious, Mrs. Velrick," she said. Her tone didn't change, still calm, still professional, like she was explaining a parking ticket instead of taking my newborn baby. This is standard procedure for all Wickerdale residents. Standard procedure. My mind was spinning. She's talking about a baby like it's furniture being moved into the house. She's a baby, I whispered. She's 10 minutes old, which is exactly why we need to act quickly, Karen said, before the integration period begins. Then she did something I'll never forget for as long as I live. She reached down and picked up my daughter from my arms, just like that, without asking permission, without waiting for me to say anything. Her hands just slid under my baby's tiny body, and she lifted her like she was picking up a manila file folder. What are you doing? I tried to sit up, but the 4-line pulled tight against my arm. Pain shot through my abdomen, where they'd given me the epidural. Put her down, please. She'll be returned once the board reviews your retention request, Karen said. She rocked my baby gently, but it wasn't the way a mother holds a baby. It was how you'd hold a piece of paperwork. Not a human being. Not my child. My vision blurred with tears. I couldn't tell if it was from the emotional shock, or the physical exhaustion, or both. You can't take her? I whispered desperately. Please, please don't take her. Karen looked at me with something that almost resembled sympathy. Almost. This is for the community's benefit. Mrs. Velrick, we have ecological thresholds to maintain. Population density regulations. Your household wasn't approved for a secondary biological unit. Secondary biological unit. She was calling my daughter a unit, not a person, not a baby, a unit. I reached for the call button on the side of my bed, but my fingers were shaking so badly I couldn't press it. Karen was already walking toward the door with my baby in her arms. Wait, I shouted. My voice broke completely. You can't just leave. She turned back. The board meets Thursday at 9 a.m. You and your husband are required to attend. Bring all relevant documentation, birth certificate, proof of intent to occupy. Sustainability impact assessment. Sustainability impact assessment. I repeated. She's a baby. She's not she's a person. She's an occupant, Karen corrected me. And all occupants require board approval. Then she turned and walked toward the door. That's when everything changed. The emergency access door hissed open. Not the regular door, the sealed corridor door, the one that only opens for authorized medical personnel during actual emergencies. 8 seconds. That's how long it took from the moment Karen touched my daughter to the moment that door opened. My husband Thorne stepped through. His face was completely calm, but I knew that look. I'd only seen it twice before in our 7 years of marriage. Once, when someone tried to break into our car in a parking garage, he didn't yell or threaten. He just walked up to the guy and said 3 words, and the man ran. Another time when a drunk driver almost hit us, he swerved, avoided the crash, then calmly pulled over and called the police. His hands never shook. It was the look of a man who doesn't panic, who doesn't warn you before acting, who does what needs to be done. Put her down, Thorne said. His voice was quiet, steady, the quiet that makes you listen. Karen turned slowly. She didn't look surprised, didn't look scared, just annoyed. Mr. Velrick, she said, I was just explaining to your wife. Put my daughter down. Now, Thorne interrupted. Karen's smile was thin. She'll be returned after the board meeting on Thursday. Clause 1(2)(a) is very clear about, you have 3 seconds to place my daughter back in that bassinet, Thorne said. He didn't move closer. He didn't raise his voice. He just stood there, his eyes locked on hers. Karen's smile grew even thinner. Or what? You'll threaten me in a hospital with witnesses. No, Thorne said. His voice was pure ice. I'll let the hospital security AI explain to the police why you entered a restricted maternity wing using stolen credentials. Karen's smile disappeared instantly. The red lanyard you're wearing, Thorne continued, his voice steady and calm. That's mine. It was issued by Fairfax Medical's Tactical Responder Program. You're not authorized to have it. You're not authorized to be in this wing. And you used admin access credentials from Julia Melson to override the security lock on that door. Karen's hand moved to the lanyard. I have community emergency coordination clearance, she said quickly. Wickadell Edge maintains reciprocal access agreements with— No, Thorne interrupted. You don't. That clearance doesn't exist. I know because I helped design the security system for this wing 3 years ago. He pulled out his phone. Every entry is logged. Every credential is tracked. Every door scan is time-stamped and linked to a verified identity. Right now, the hospital's legal team is being notified of an unauthorized access event in a restricted medical area. Karen's face went pale, just slightly, but I saw it. You impersonated a medical coordinator, Thorne continued, his voice like steel. You used someone else's credentials to bypass a secure door. You entered a patient's room without consent, and you touched a newborn infant without parental permission or any medical justification. He took one step forward. Just one. That's not a policy violation, Karen. That's a crime. The room went completely silent. Just the beeping of monitors and my daughter's tiny breathing in Karen's arms. Karen looked at the baby, then at Thorne, then at me. Her jaw tightened. Slowly, carefully, she walked back to my bed and placed my daughter in the bassinet beside me. She didn't look at me, didn't apologize. Just set her down like she was returning a borrowed item. This isn't over, Karen said quietly. Her voice had changed completely. No longer calm, no longer professional, just cold. Yes, it is, Thorne replied. Because in about 45 seconds, hospital security will arrive. And you'll explain to them why you impersonated a medical coordinator to access a restricted maternity area. Karen adjusted her blazer. She straightened the red lanyard. Then she walked toward the door. You'll regret this, she said, without turning around. No, Thorne said. You will. The door hissed shut behind her. For a moment, the room was completely silent. Just the soft beeping of monitors and my daughter's tiny, fragile breathing. Then I started crying. Not from fear, not from anger, but from pure, overwhelming relief. Thorne walked over to the bassinet and picked up our daughter gently, like she was made of glass. Then he placed her in my arms. She's not going anywhere, he said softly. I promise you, she's not going anywhere. I held my baby close. She was so small, so perfect. Her eyes were closed. Her tiny fingers curled against my chest. How did you know? I whispered. How did you get here so fast? Thorne sat down on the edge of the hospital bed. I built a notification system into the hospital's security network 3 years ago, he said. After what happened with our first pregnancy. My throat tightened. Our first pregnancy. The one we lost at 21 weeks. The emergency surgery. The hours of waiting. The moment they told us she didn't make it. I embedded a rapid response protocol, Thorne continued. If your vitals spike during labor, if there's an emergency access event in your wing, if anyone tries to enter your room without proper clearance, I get notified immediately on my phone. You built that? I asked, amazed. I built it for you, he said. I built it so I'd never be late again. I looked down at our daughter. She was safe. She was here. She was ours. But Karen's words echoed in my mind. This isn't over. 3 days after we brought our daughter home from the hospital, the envelope arrived. It was waiting in our mailbox when Thorne went to get the mail. Gold ink, HOA letterhead, official seal, embossed on the front. He brought it inside without saying anything. He just placed it on the kitchen table. I was sitting in the rocking chair, feeding the baby. She was sleeping now, her tiny mouth still moving slightly like she was dreaming about milk. What is it? I asked. Thorne opened the envelope slowly and pulled out a single sheet of paper. He read it once, then twice. His jaw tightened. Read it out loud, I said. He cleared his throat. Notice of unauthorized residential expansion. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Velrick, the Wickerdale Edge Homeowners Association has determined that an unregistered occupant has been introduced into Lot 47 without proper board approval. This constitutes a violation of HOA Clause 1-2A, Occupancy Compliance Standards. He continued reading. According to our records, no application for biological addition was submitted prior to residential integration. All permanent additions to household units must be approved by the board no less than 30 days before arrival. You are hereby notified of the following. 1. A compliance hearing has been scheduled for Thursday, May 18th at 9 a.m. at the Wickerdale Community Hall. 2. Failure to attend will result in automatic violation status and a fine of $500. 3. Continued non-compliance may result in additional fines, property lien, or mandatory relocation proceedings. I stared at him. Environmental impact assessment. For a baby. Thorne folded the letter carefully. His hands were steady, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. She's calling our daughter an unregistered occupant, I said. My voice shook, like she's a tenant or a piece of furniture. She's trying to scare us, Thorne said quietly. Well, it's working, I replied. I looked down at our daughter. She was so small, so helpless. What if they take her? What if they won't let us? They won't, Thorne said firmly. His voice was like steel. Because what Karen just did gave us exactly what we need. What do you mean? He pulled out his laptop. She put it in writing. She admitted entering the hospital. She's claiming legal authority she doesn't have. And she's threatening us with eviction over a baby. So here's what we do. What? Thorne looked at me. His eyes were calm, focused, determined. We build a case, and we take her down. Thorne didn't sleep that night. I heard him downstairs in his office. The soft clicking of keyboard keys, the occasional printer worry, the sound of him talking on the phone in that low, professional voice he used for work calls. At 2 o'clock in the morning, I went downstairs with the baby. She was awake, fussing softly. Thorne's office door was open. His desk was covered with papers, printouts, highlighted documents, and sticky notes everywhere. What are you doing? I asked from the doorway. He looked up. His eyes were tired but sharp. Building the case. I walked in and sat down in the chair across from his desk. The baby settled against my chest, her breathing slowing. Look at this, Thorne said. He turned his laptop toward me. On the screen was a spreadsheet, columns of data, timestamps, names, and access codes. This is the hospital security log from the night you gave birth, he explained. Every door entry, every badge scan, every credential check. He pointed to a line highlighted in yellow. Entry point, maternity wing corridor B. Time, 11:43 p.m. Credential. J. Melson admin. Authorization level 3. Administrative access. Duration, 4 minutes 23 seconds. That's Julia Melson, I said. Our neighbor, right? Exactly, Thorne said. She works at the hospital as an administrative assistant. She has level 3 access, which lets her into most non-restricted areas. But the maternity wing is restricted, right? I said. Exactly, Thorne repeated. He scrolled down. Now look at this. Another entry. Same timestamp. Same credential. Entry point. Records office. Floor 3. Time. 11:43 p.m. Credential. J. Melson admin. Authorization level 3. Duration. 18 minutes. I frowned. That's the same time. Exactly, Thorne said. Julia's badge was scanned in 2 different locations at the exact same time. That's impossible, unless someone cloned her badge, or she gave someone her login credentials. I finished. Exactly, Thorne said. Either way, it's a security breach, and I'm betting that someone was Karen. He scrolled to another document, a video file. I got this from a contact at the hospital, he said. Someone in security who's been watching Karen for a while. He clicked play. Grainy security footage. Black and white. Timestamp in the corner. Jam 11:41 menit p.m. The hospital hallway was empty. Quiet. Then a figure appeared. Walking confidently. No hesitation. It was Karen Tarrant. She walked straight to the maternity wing door. Didn't pause. Didn't look around. Just placed her hand on the access panel. The door opened. She walked through. She didn't scan a badge. I said, "No." Thorne agreed. Because she used Julia's override code. She entered it manually. Bypassed the security log. "Can you prove that?" Thorne opened another file. Lines of code, access logs, technical data. I didn't understand most of it. "This is the system audit trail," he explained. "It shows every manual override entered that night. At 11:42 p.m., someone entered an admin override code from an unregistered device. The code belonged to Julia Melson, but Julia was on the 3rd floor at that exact moment. So Karen had Julia's code." "Yes," I said, "which means Julia either gave it to her willingly, or Karen got it some other way," Thorne continued. "Either way, it's credential misuse, it's impersonation, it's unauthorized access to a restricted medical area." I looked down at our sleeping daughter. "Is that enough?" "Not yet," Thorne said, "but it's a start. There's more we need." The next morning, Thorne went back to the hospital. I stayed home with the baby. She was having trouble latching, and I was exhausted and sleep-deprived. Every part of my body ached, but I couldn't stop thinking about Karen, about the hearing, about what would happen if we lost. Thorne came back 3 hours later. He looked tired, but satisfied. "I found someone," he said. "Who?" "Sister Corell Nave," he replied, "hospital chaplain. She was working the night you gave birth." I remembered her vaguely. A woman in a white coat with kind eyes. She'd stopped by my room the morning after delivery to ask if we needed anything. "What did she say?" I asked. Thorne pulled out a small envelope. Inside was a handwritten statement on hospital letterhead. I read it carefully. It said, "To whom it may concern. My name is Sister Corell Nave. I am a chaplain at Fairfax Medical Center. On the night of May 14th, I witnessed Mrs. Karen Tarrant enter the maternity wing without proper authorization. I was in the hallway near the nurse's station when I saw her approach. She was not wearing hospital identification. She did not check in at the desk. She walked directly to one of the patient rooms. I asked her if she needed assistance. She told me she had community emergency clearance and showed me a laminated card with official-looking seals. I did not recognize the format. It looked legitimate, but something felt wrong. She entered the patient room without permission from the nursing staff. I heard raised voices. I heard a woman crying. I should have intervened, but I hesitated. When she exited the room approximately 4 minutes later, she was carrying an infant. I asked her what she was doing. She told me she was processing a compliance review and that everything was authorized. I reported this incident to my supervisor the following morning. I was told it was being handled internally. I am providing this statement because I believe what I witnessed was wrong. No one should enter a patient's room without consent. No one should remove an infant from its mother without medical or legal justification. I regret not stopping her in the moment. I hope this statement helps. Sincerely, Sister Corell Nave. My hands shook as I read it. She saw everything. Everything, Thorne confirmed, and she's willing to testify. Will she really do it? I asked. Karen's husband is a lawyer. He handles all of Wickerdale's legal stuff. She could face retaliation. I asked her that, Thorne said. She said she's transferring to another hospital in 2 months anyway. She's tired of the politics, tired of staying quiet. I looked at the statement again. This could actually work. It will work, Thorne said, because we're not done yet. That afternoon, while the baby napped, Thorne pulled up the Wickerdale Edge HOA charter on his laptop. I've read this thing 3 times, he said, cover to cover, all 87 pages, and Karen made a mistake. He turned the screen toward me. Look at Clause 1 to A, the one she's citing. I read the section he'd highlighted. Clause 1 to A. Occupancy compliance standards. All permanent additions to household units, including biological additions, must be approved by the board no less than 30 days prior to residential integration. This clause operates under the authority of County Ordinance for 7B, which grants homeowners associations emergency access coordination powers in matters of public health and community safety. Okay, I said. So, Thorne clicked another tab, a government website. Virginia County Records, County Ordinance 47B, he said. Issued in 2019, repealed in 2022. I stared at the screen. Repealed. Repealed, Thorne confirmed. It was part of a batch of ordinances that got removed after a state audit found they violated privacy laws. The ordinance Karen is using to justify her authority doesn't exist anymore, so Clause 1-2A is invalid. I said, realization dawning. Completely invalid, Thorne said. She's claiming legal authority based on a law that was deleted 2 years ago, which means everything she did entering the hospital, taking our daughter, sending us this violation notice, all of it was based on a rule that has no legal foundation whatsoever. I felt something lift in my chest. So we can fight this. We can destroy this, Thorne corrected. Because once I show the state investigators that Wickerdale's enforcement policies are based on repealed laws, the entire HOA structure falls apart. State investigators. I filed a formal complaint with the Virginia Office of Civil Enforcement this morning, Thorne said. They handle cases of institutional abuse, fraudulent authority claims, and privacy violations. What did they say? They're opening an investigation. Thursday morning came faster than I expected. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Karen's face, heard her voice. She'll be returned after the board reviews your retention request. Thorne was already dressed when I woke up. Dark suit, black tie. He looked like he was going to court. You don't have to dress up for an HOA hearing, I said. I'm not dressing up for them, Thorne replied. I'm dressing up for the state investigator who'll be reviewing the hearing recording. They're recording it. They have to, Thorne said. It's in the bylaws. All enforcement hearings must be recorded and archived. The Wickerdale Community Hall was packed when we arrived. I didn't expect so many people. Usually, HOA meetings had maybe 10 residents, retirees, board loyalists, people who cared about landscaping schedules and holiday decoration rules. But today there were at least 50 people. Some stood in the back. Others sat on folded chairs. A few held notepads. One woman in the corner had her phone out, recording. Karen sat at the front table in her white blazer, hair pulled back. Her face was calm, professional, like nothing had happened. Next to her sat Dennis Harbaugh, the compliance officer. He looked uncomfortable, kept adjusting his glasses, and wouldn't make eye contact with anyone. Thank you all for coming, Karen began. Her voice filled the room, confident, controlled. Today we're addressing an important matter regarding occupancy, compliance, and community standards. She clicked the remote. A projector screen lowered behind her. I almost laughed. She'd turned our baby into a PowerPoint presentation. Recently, there was a procedural misunderstanding regarding a hospital visit, Karen continued. I want to clarify the board's position and address any concerns. Our policies exist for one reason: to maintain harmony, sustainability, and quality of life for all Wickerdale residents. She advanced to the next slide. Every new permanent occupant requires resources, she explained. Water usage increases, noise levels change, vehicular traffic impacts the community. We must plan for these changes to prevent overcrowding and ecological strain. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Someone in the back whispered, "She's talking about a baby." That's when Thorne stood up. "Point of inquiry," he said. His voice was calm, clear. Karen's eyes locked on him. "Mr. Velrick, the floor will open for resident questions after board business concludes. Then I suggest you finish quickly," Thorne said. "Because I have a lot of questions." The room went silent. Karen's jaw tightened. Very well. Resident questions. Please limit your comments to 90 seconds. Thorne walked to the front of the room. He carried a folder and placed it on the table in front of Karen. Then he opened it. Inside were 3 photographs, printed in color, clear and undeniable. Photo 1. Karen entering the hospital corridor. Timestamp, visible, no badge. Photo 2. The hospital access log showing her unauthorized entry. Photo 3. The municipal community liaison ID card that she'd shown. Sister Corella title that doesn't exist in any Virginia county. Karen's face went pale. This is not the appropriate venue for, she started. No, Thorne interrupted. His voice was ice. This is exactly the venue. He turned to face the room. Wickerdale Edge isn't under attack from unregistered babies, he said. It's under attack from leadership that believes power is the same as law. My daughter was physically held by someone who impersonated medical authority. That's not a procedural misunderstanding. That's a crime. Dennis Harbaugh looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. Thorne held up another document. This is the HOA lease agreement signed by Karen Tarrant on behalf of the board. Page 14, Section 7. Paragraph C, it states, in the event of any dispute involving medical privacy or patient care, the HOA shall defer to municipal and state authority, not board policy. The room was silent. Karen violated that agreement, Thorne said. She entered a restricted hospital wing. She used stolen credentials. She impersonated authority. And then she tried to rewrite the rules after the fact to cover her tracks. Voices erupted. Not loud, but urgent. Whispered conversations. Heads turning. This is grandstanding, Karen said sharply. No, a woman's voice called from the back. This is accountability. It was Carla Stem from Lot 12, a widow whose porch railing had been cited as a violation after her husband died. Another voice joined in. We've been afraid to speak up for years. Wallace Crin, Lot 19. He'd been fined twice for flying an American flag 2 inches below regulation height. A third voice. My son was written up for crying too loud. He has autism. He can't help it. The Thremer family. Lot 8. The room wasn't with Karen anymore. Thorne placed one more document on the table. Just this morning, he said, I received confirmation from the Virginia Office of Civil Enforcement. A formal investigation has been opened into Wickerdale Edge, HOA, under Title 17 authority. Karen's hand trembled slightly. Just slightly, but I saw it. State investigators will audit every policy, Thorne continued. Every credential, every enforcement action, every violation letter sent in the past 3 years. He looked directly at Karen, and when they find out that Clause 12A is based on a county ordinance that was repealed in 2022, this entire system you built will collapse. Karen stood abruptly. This hearing is adjourned. No, Thorne said. It's just beginning. The next morning, I woke to my phone buzzing. Email after email. Notifications. Messages. The first was from the Office of Civil Enforcement. Investigation opened. Wickerdale Edge, HOA. Case number 2024 CE, 1749. You have been designated as a primary material witness. Please preserve all documentation, correspondence, and evidence related to this case. A freeze has been placed on all HOA enforcement actions pending review. You will be contacted within 72 hours to schedule a formal deposition. I read it 3 times. Then I showed Thorne. He nodded once. It's happening. By noon, more emails arrived from neighbors, from residents, from people I'd never spoken to. Wallace Crin, Lot 19. You don't know me, but I've been waiting for years for someone to stand up. Thank you. My wife cried watching you speak. Tell us what you need. The Thremer family. Lot 8. Our son was cited for non-compliant noise during a meltdown. We're ready to speak up now. Thank you for giving us courage. Carla Stem, Lot 12. I lost my husband last year. Karen cited me for grief leave, exceeding board-approved duration. I didn't know I could fight back. Now I do. By evening, there were 11 emails total. 11 families. All with stories, all ready to testify. Thorne compiled every message into a single document and forwarded it to the state investigator. At 6:43 p.m., an internal HOA message was posted to all resident portals. Board announcement, effective immediately. President Karen Taryn is recusing herself from all enforcement operations pending administrative review. Compliance Officer Dennis Harbaugh will serve as interim liaison until further notice. All scheduled violation hearings are postponed. Further updates will be provided as the situation develops. No apology, no explanation, just distance. I sat staring at the screen. She's backing off. She has no choice, Thorne said. The state is coming. She knows what they'll find. 2 weeks later, a black sedan pulled up to the Wickerdale HOA office. Government plates. Official seal on the door. Department of Administrative Oversight. A man in a dark suit stepped out. He carried a briefcase and a clipboard. He rang the bell. Dennis Harbaugh answered. His face was pale and tired. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. The man went inside. He stayed for 4 hours. When he left, he carried 2 cardboard boxes, files, documents, records. That evening, another official bulletin was posted online. Ongoing investigation, Wickerdale Edge HOA. The Virginia Office of Civil Enforcement has opened a formal review under Title 17 authority. Initial findings confirm procedural misconduct, misuse of positional access, unauthorized policy enforcement, credential fraud, and violation of state privacy laws. Further review is pending. All enforcement actions remain frozen until investigation concludes. The bulletin went public. Local news picked it up. HOA forums shared it. Legal blogs analyzed it. Wickerdale Edge was no longer invisible. 3 weeks after the hearing, Sister Corel Nav gave her official statement to state investigators. She told them everything. She spoke about that night, the way she saw Karen enter the hospital, the fake ID card, the way Karen walked past the nurse's station without checking in, the sound of me crying from the hospital room, the infant in Karen's arms. I should have stopped her, Sister Corel said in her recorded testimony, but I was afraid of retaliation, afraid of being wrong, afraid that maybe I didn't understand the rules. But I did understand. Her statement was 11 pages, long, detailed, precise, time-stamped. It was added to the official case file. 2 days later, she stopped by our house. She looked lighter, younger somehow, like a weight had been lifted. I'm transferring to St. Aperia, she said, in Rowan County, a smaller hospital, less complicated. Are you sure? I asked. She smiled. I need a fresh start. But I needed you to have this first. She handed me an envelope. Inside was a USB drive. The original security footage, she explained, before the hospital deleted it. I made a copy before they could scrub it. I held the drive carefully. Thank you. No, Sister Corel said softly. Thank you. You reminded me that silence isn't neutral. We never saw Julia Melson again. Her house went up for sale 3 weeks after the investigation started. No for sale sign, no open house. Just a quiet listing online, according to the state investigation report. Julia had manually created a fake guest profile for Karen, listed her as a municipal community liaison, granted her emergency verification clearance, provided her admin override codes, and deleted access logs after the fact. All of it was documented. All of it was illegal. Julia didn't wait for charges. She sold her house in 11 days. Below market value, cash buyer, no inspection. By the time investigators wanted to interview her, she was gone. The last anyone heard, she'd moved to Montana, or maybe Wyoming, somewhere remote, somewhere without HOAs. 6 months after the investigation began, the state released its final report. 91 pages. Single-spaced. Comprehensive. The findings were absolutely devastating. Unauthorized medical facility access. Karen Taryn illegally entered a restricted maternity ward, using stolen credentials and impersonated medical personnel, child endangerment, removal of a newborn from parental custody without legal authority or medical justification, privacy law violations, accessing protected medical records and patient information without authorization, fraudulent policy enforcement, implementing HOA rules based on repealed county ordinances and fabricated legal authority, abuse of administrative power, using the HOA position to threaten residents with unlawful penalties and property seizure, conspiracy to commit fraud, coordinating with Julia Melson to fabricate credentials and bypass security systems. The report recommended criminal charges against Karen Tareen, immediate dissolution of the current HOA board, court-appointed oversight for Wickerdale Edge, financial restitution to affected families, and complete policy reformation under state supervision. 2 weeks later, Karen was arrested. She didn't go quietly. She hired 3 lawyers, filed motions, claimed she was being politically targeted, and said she was protecting the community from uncontrolled population growth. None of it mattered. The evidence was overwhelming. The security footage, Sister Correll's testimony, the access logs, the fake credentials, the violation notices, all of it documented. All of it is irrefutable. The trial lasted for days. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty on all charges. Karen was sentenced to 18 months in prison, $4,700 in fines and restitution, a permanent ban from serving on any HOA board, and 3 years of probation after release. Her husband, the lawyer, filed for divorce 3 weeks later. Their house sold in 30 days. With Karen gone, Wickerdale Edge had to rebuild. The state appointed an interim oversight committee, 3 members, all vetted, all independent. Their first action was to suspend Clause 1, 2A, and 47 other regulations that violated state law. Their second action was to hold real community elections, secret ballots, independent vote counting, no board interference. Wallace Crinn was elected president. Carla Stem became treasurer. The Thrammer family's eldest son became secretary. People who had been silenced for years. People who knew what it was like to be targeted. The new board's first meeting was nothing like Karen's meetings. No PowerPoints, no compliance reports, no environmental load assessments. Just neighbors talking to neighbors. "We're here to serve the community," Wallace said in his opening statement. "Not to rule it, not to police it, not to turn our neighbors into case files and violation numbers." The room erupted in applause. One by one, families stood up and shared their stories. The couple was fined for painting their door the wrong shade of approved gray. The elderly man was threatened with eviction because his grass was half an inch too tall after he broke his hip. The young mother was written up for excessive infant noise during late-night feedings. All of them had been afraid. All of them had stayed quiet. Not anymore. 3 years later, the Wickerdale Edge story became a case study. Law schools used it to teach about HOA overreach. Medical ethics programs referenced it in discussions about patient rights. The Virginia legislature passed the Valric Acta law that explicitly prohibited HOS from regulating family composition, imposing fees on children, or claiming authority over medical decisions. 14 medical centers across the state adopted Thorne's hospital security protocols. His rapid response notification system became standard in maternity wards nationwide. And me. I started a support group for families targeted by abusive HOA policies. We met monthly, shared stories, provided resources, and helped people fight back. My daughter is 4 years old now. She's smart, brave, and curious about everything. She loves dinosaurs and finger painting. She doesn't know she was once called a Category 2 violation. She doesn't know someone tried to take her from my arms minutes after she was born. All she knows is that she's loved, protected, safe, and that's exactly how it should be.